everyone. I hope everyone is keeping well and staying safe. This is Mavis, your host from Bentley Education, and you're listening to the Infrastructure Star Talks podcast. Do you want to visualize and plan your career journey? Well, who can be better than infrastructure experts from around the globe to instill the spark of optimism in you? If you have been thinking about ways to reach out to these experts and learn from them, think no more. Get ready to ride on the one way roller coaster ride of knowledge and inspiration by learning from these infra gurus. It's time to get some deeper insights from our expert guest for this episode, Mr. Sonny Andalis, Senior Executive BIM Manager at Surbana Jurong Pvt Limited. Mr. Sony has worked for companies like Jacobs, ACOM, Building and Construction Authority, and so on. Welcome, Sony. Thank you so much for your time and joining us today. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm good.
That's great. So, Sony, talking about your varied, vast experience, you have 19 years combined experience in government service, rail, water, and airport engineering. And our audience is very excited to know about your career journey. So, are you excited to share with our listeners?
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Cool, then let's get started. So, my very first question to you is like, you started your career journey way back in 2003. So, what has fundamentally changed about your work from when you started as junior structure engineer to senior executive BIM manager now?
So okay, so yes, I started my career in 2003 as a junior structural engineer. Back then, there was no focus on construction technology. So you're talking about the traditional jobs of a civil engineer. So you either become a structural engineer or a geotechnical engineer or a geodetic engineer or a water engineer or wastewater engineer and so on. So there's no such thing as a BIM manager back then and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
I started actually. I'm when I was in university. I have quite an inclination towards design. I like design more than actual field work. So I actually started as a junior
Mm-hmm.
structural engineer. I learned actually how to design based on the American standards because I came from the Philippines, and then when I
Mm-hmm.
moved to Singapore, I have to uh, study again British standards or British code, so and to design based on the American code and the British code are more or less the same, but you follow different standards, you see. So
Right.
it was a big struggle for me. It's good that I know the software, I can operate Stad Pro, Plexus, etabs, and many more. And then at the time I was also I know how to operate Revit, or at the time it was Triforma. I think Bentley was we were doing we were working on Bentley Triforma and
Mm-hmm.
Xsteel, the precursor to now Tekla Structures. So I am quite familiar with the software part, and then but it was a struggle for me
Mm-hmm.
to transition from the American code to the British code when I worked from the Philippines, and then transitioning to Singapore, and then my uh, managing director, my boss actually, was asking everyone who
Mm-hmm.
wants to pick up the skills of BIM or building information modeling, because at the time I was a as a structural engineer, I was mostly designing
Mm-hmm.
airport structures. I'm designing the passenger link bridges. I'm designing the airport terminal and so on. So that is my focus. And then I actually um, put my hands up, and then I said, yeah, let me try it, because I'm good with software.
Right.
So I actually transitioned to become a modeler. But he wanted me to become a coordinator. Because the project that we were working on is multidisciplinary. I was the representative for the civil and structural department, and then how to say this, attending meetings with the
Mm-hmm.
architect, with the MEP, with the civil. I'm talking when we talk about the civil, I'm talking about the airport runway, the associated facilities like the radar. So I was the one representing our department in those meetings. And then, so obviously, I pick up the modeling skills, but I was functioning
Mhm.
as a BIM coordinator, representing, as I said, the civil and structural department on when I was in CPG. And then
Okay.
I joined the government, the Building and Construction Authority, as a BIM specialist, specifically
Mhm.
to talk to civil and structural engineer because I was one of them. So the reason why I think I was hired at the time because I can talk to a fellow
Mhm.
civil and structural engineer because I was a practicing. I was also similar to them. I was doing the same job and I know how difficult it is. And then I think it is more relevant if somebody at the same level will talk to you to adopt a new technology. So I was actually quite good at it. So
Mhm.
basically converting the Singapore industry, promoting BIM among the civil engineers, especially the structural engineers, telling them that we have physical models and analytical models. Why not we actually combine the two? And introducing to them a lot of software. So that's how I become a BIM manager. And then now I after a stint in the government service, I moved to the private sector. I
Mhm.
moved to AECOM and Jacobs. Then I become a full-fledged BIM manager, handling very large project like the Singapore Kuala Lumpur High Speed Rail, the Changi Terminal 5, and then the
Mhm.
Tuas Water Reclamation Plant. So I have um, and then up to now that I am the senior executive BIM manager. So basically what I'm trying to say as I transition from a technical engineer
Mhm.
doing civil and structural to a BIM manager, because there's
Mhm.
actually two pathways to become a BIM manager. Either you started as a CAD manager doing drawings, and then
Mhm.
you upgrade to modeling and then become a BIM manager, or you were an engineer before like me, who happens to do modeling and coordination that becomes a BIM manager. So there are two pathways, so and I think if you have the technical background, you have the edge, instead of a traditional pathway wherein you originally is a CAD manager and transformed, or upgraded into a BIM manager. So I have a different journey because I was a practicing structural engineer before I become a BIM
Mhm.
manager. So that's basically the quick history. How did I transition from a practicing structural engineer into now a full fledged, and this is my day job, my full time day job as a BIM manager. Yep.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I'm sure our listeners can relate to you. And also, I believe learning new things unveil new opportunities, and one should be ready to take on new challenges, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Sony, I also recently visited your LinkedIn profile and I saw you have recently completed a certification course in construction law and contracts. So, would you like to share more about this course and how students could take a job in infrastructure industry once they are certified?
Okay, so that's an interesting part. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually, so aside from my day job, obviously as a BIM manager, I have an interest in law, in particular, especially specifically commercial law, or corporate law. That is actually a personal interest. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I was attending meetings, there's always a discussion. There's always two meetings, a technical discussion and a commercial discussion meeting. And when you're in a meeting, obviously the contract is based. Is heavily referenced, so a consultant might say that, oh, this is actually part of our contract and you cannot do this because you it is not included in your contract, or this is included in your contract, you have to do this. So the interest in construction law and contracts was reinforced because I need I'm dealing with it on a day-to-day basis,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I actually how to say this, and I actually enrolled in a construction law and contract course, because this is like, how to say, if you read the Bible, for example, or literally a magazine, we have a different understanding. We might read the same thing, but we have different interpretation. And in construction law, that is a very difficult, a very dangerous thing. So I enrolled specifically because I don't want to interpret it on my own. I need to understand what is the purpose and the essence of the construction law, or the essence of the contract that I am signing or implementing, so that I can be a good steward of that particular the trust that is actually given by the client. Yeah, and I can perform my job better if I understand what I'm signing for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to understand. Yeah, to summarize, I enrolled is because I don't want to misinterpret. So all of these contracts in Singapore, for example, the SIA form of contract, or the REDAS, from the client, or if you're working in the government, the public sector, conditions of contract, is very subjective. If we both of us read the same contract, we might be interpreting it two different uh,
Mm-hmm.
tracks. In law, there's no such thing, because you need to understand the intention, um, the limit, and the scope of the contract. So for me, it is important to understand, and there is a need to be certified, because, as I said, right, all of us has a different interpretation. When you say that you are certified, your understanding is actually aligned with the law, with the prevailing law of the land. So you will not be advising your client, or you will not be in a position wherein, because of your interpretation, you will be at the disadvantage, in a
Mm-hmm.
negotiation with the client, or with the consultant, or with a contractor. So it's important to be certified, especially if you're working for a very big infrastructure project that spans multiple years. You don't want to be in a position where you will be disadvantaged. So for me, it's important. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
took construction law and contracts. And the other side to the story, on a personal matter, I
Mm-hmm.
want I want to be a construction arbitrator in the future. And it's important for me
Yeah.
to have a certification in construction law and contracts if you want to be an arbitrator, because
Mm-hmm.
it's very expensive. If
Okay.
if you have a disagreement in a construction project, right, it's very expensive to put it into court, to actual litigation. So people opt for arbitration. So this is the uh, how to say this, less expensive way of resolving conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be an arbitrator, to resolve, conflicts between an owner and a consultant, an owner and a contractor. So that's the personal reason why I applied and completed a course in
Mm-hmm.
construction law, because I want to be a construction arbitrator in the future. Yes.
Great. Well, I too believe certification helps in learning a new technologies, right? And skills and abilities for specific promotion, or also it helps in advancing your career. So I believe like certification definitely helps you to boost your career. So I wanted to know about how you can connect with the community. And I think volunteering is one of the best ways to use our skills for good. And Sony, you are participating in different types of volunteer work, such as Singapore Red Cross. You are salesman at Fitness League Singapore, right? So,
Yes.
do you think these volunteering allows you to connect to community and make it a better place and help others?
Yes, because for me, right, in my own personal opinion, you can do two things if you want
Mm-hmm.
to contribute to the community. Either, number one, you give money, meaning to say,
Mm-hmm.
you donate to charity, and so on. But for me, I have the personal belief that if I want to contribute to something, I will contribute my time.
Right.
So it's easy to give $100, $1,000, or even $10,000 to Red Cross, for example. That's very
Mm-hmm.
easy, if you have the money. But giving your time
Right.
is say something, right? Because you cannot get back time. You can get back your money, but you cannot get back time. So for me, if I am I have an advocacy or I believe in something, I would rather give my time, volunteering my time to be part of typhoon relief in Red Cross, or every Sunday in as a dragon boat steer in fitness league, or contributing my time as a race official in
Mm-hmm.
Formula One, because I'm actually active in Formula One as well. So as I said, right, it can be a monetary donation or it can
Mm-hmm.
be your time contribution. So for me, I opt, if I am passionate of a particular cause, um, I would rather give my time. So that's why I actually volunteer um, my time a lot,
Mm-hmm.
my free time to these people, because it shows your sincerity.
Right.
It shows
Agreed.
that you are passionate about a particular cause.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was saying to a friend of mine, you did they know how much you're being paid during your work hours? Why are you spending this 4 hours, every weekend to do this? You're not being paid. So I said,
Right.
yeah, because I believe in that. I'm passionate in what they do,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my way of contributing. So maybe I'm very cheap, I don't give out my money, but I'm willing to give my time to
Right.
those causes that I'm passionate about.
Lovely. This is inspirational and commendable, Sony, that you're involved in both inside and outside of work. This is really, really amazing. It is. Also, Sony, I wanted to know, like, what is the most important lesson you have learned over, like, your career journey?
I actually two things. So the first thing that I learned is that uh, the learning knowledge is nonstop. So now I'm 40 years old. I just enrolled myself to another postgraduate course in the Philippines. It's online, obviously, because of the pandemic. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
already 40 and I'm a new dad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have a new baby, but I
No,
just
that's
I just enrolled myself. So learning never stops, what I'm trying to
yeah.
say. So that's number one. Because if you stop learning, you're basically saying to yourself that I will be stuck here as well, So the wheel is constantly moving. Technology, especially with our line of work, right? Construction technology in Bentley, and for me, I'm a BIM manager. Technology changes every day, and you have to keep
Mm-hmm.
keep pace with those changes. And if you stop for a while, if you pause for a year or two, you'll be left behind. I think you are aware of what I'm trying to talk about. So that's one. So
Mm-hmm.
learning never stops. That's an important lesson. Even if you are an old, I think even if I'm 60 years old, I will be
Mm-hmm.
enrolled in one course or another. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always enrolled. I'm not always free. Either I'm enrolled in a proper school, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning how to do sailing, for example, which I finished last year. So I have
Mm-hmm.
my certification in sailing. The other one is that another lesson that I'd like to share is more on showcasing what you can do. You see, that's why I'm an advocate of the one that we discussed before. There's a big difference between attendance and certification. So if you attend a seminar, it means nothing. It means that you are physically present, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean anything. You have to be certified. You have to show your skills. Um,
Right.
because attending something is not equivalent with a skill. So
Mm-hmm.
so so for me, I actually acquire a lot of skills that I can use, whether in my job or outside of my job. Yeah, so you have to show, you have to be certified for a particular skills. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is, it's not enough to attend seminars, webinars, and so on and so forth. It's important to actually showcase your skill. Yeah, and that is true in the office and outside the office. If your boss doesn't know that you can do this, then you will not be they will not give you the job, right? So that's in
Right.
the office. In outside, you have to say that, I can actually write, an article. Then the organization will give you a job, of as a writer. Yeah, so I I've done that. So I actually read a lot. That's why I can write a lot. I write good articles. So I have to show this in an organization that I was involved in. So now I'm a regular contributor to that organization. So if you don't show your skill and you're not certified for that skill, yeah, the opportunities will not go for you. So those two things, So number one, learning never stops actually. So it doesn't matter what age are you, what
Right.
age are you in.
Hmm.
There's always something to learn, you know. So
Yeah.
so there's always something to learn when there's a new technology, a new skill, and then very important to showcase your skill. You know,
Right.
it's important to actually showcase your skill. So that's, I think, the two
Mhm.
most important lessons that I learned over my career.
So you mean to say that you believe in continuous learning? So, and that's beautiful. I think we all should always. I personally would like to take this thing from you that continuous learning is very important, and you should always enroll yourself in something or either that keeps you. I think that also keeps you like interested in your like it keeps your life very interesting also, right? Like you keep on learning new things, and that's interesting, I believe.
Yes.
That's great. Also, Sony, like, what advice would you give to someone wanting to pursue a career like yours, and what are the simple things they need to do in their professional life?
Okay, so this is easy. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I started as a technical engineer. I was a structural engineer by training, and then I moved to, how to say this, the government sector, and then I moved to the private sector. So if you want to follow the career similar as mine, as I said, learning never stops, because there's always something new. When you transition, let's just
Mm-hmm.
say, from the public sector to the private sectors, it's a big jump. The private sector are very specific about the man hours. So in the public sector, there's no such thing as man hours. You are paid, whether or not you deliver something, but you have to deliver, obviously. But in the private sector, it's all about man hours, right?
Right.
You are paid by the hour, and
Mm-hmm.
your output is very important. So you have to learn. You have to be efficient in your work. You have to finish what is assigned to you and meet the deadlines. Deadlines are definitely deadlines. It's not extendable. Those are the things that you need to. These are basically my advice. Um, for me, um, I'm currently a B manager, obviously, in construction technology, but I always retain my civil engineering skills. So, like 2 years ago, I just finished my postgraduate in structural design, because I need to learn Eurocodes. As you know, we transitioned from the British standards to Eurocodes, and then I just enrolled myself in transport engineering because, for me, I'm a civil engineer that handles airport and rail.
Mm-hmm.
So to officially certify me in transport engineering, I took up a postgraduate again, in transport engineering. So it also reinforced what I said just before, that learning never stops. So if you want
Mm-hmm.
to follow my career, it's important to retain your technical skills. Um, Even though now I'm in management, role, meaning to say that I handle people, I handle the cash flow and so on, and assigning people to their projects. That's what I do most of the time now. It's more on companies administration, but I never forget my technical skills. You have to maintain your technical skills where you started, because if
Mm-hmm.
you don't maintain it, it will get rusty, and you will soon forget it. So for me, every now and then, I design the structures. I remember the days that I'm designing beams, columns, trusses, and so on and so forth. I model soil in Plaxis and use STAAD Pro in my design work. So that the skill is always there. I don't forget those essential skills as a civil engineer. Yeah.
That's great. So I'm sure this will encourage the younger generation who would keep their inspiration alive while starting into the future infrastructure industry. And thank you, Sony, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And I'm sure our listeners have many takeaways from your career journey, and it was lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Yeah, as well. Likewise.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for listening to the Infrastructure Star Talks. If you enjoy our show, leave us a review and recommend topics you would love to hear in our next episode. Before I sign off, everyone make sure to follow Bentley Education on social media to get a jump start on your infrastructure career. Until then, this is Mavis signing off. We'll meet again soon in another exciting episode with another infra guru from the world of infrastructure.